Well, you guys ask me all the time about ways that you can disciple your young children, and I want to tell you about something I found that I think you're going to love. I am always searching for curriculum that's theologically solid, rich in apologetics, and wait for it, easy to use. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about the Answers Bible curriculum for homeschool from my friends at Answers in Genesis. This amazing program covers the entire Bible in just 4 years, and it was created specifically for kindergartners through fifth graders to be taught at the same time, which is going to save you time and simplify your day. You guys are going to get quality that you expect from AIG, and it's deep, fun, packed with truth, and designed to equip your kids to defend the faith. If you're ready to try it, head on over to answersbiblecurriculum.com/Heidi and download a free lesson to get started. That's answersbiblecurriculum.com/Heidi. Hey, you guys, this is Heidi St. John. How are you doing? Thank you for joining me today at the podcast. If you guys are watching the news, then you understand that the Middle East is on fire right now. Just a couple of days ago, President Trump left the G7 summit early, saying he needed to get back to the United States to arrive in the Situation Room, and issued a warning to Tehran, telling civilians to get the heck out of Tehran. What happens in the Middle East doesn't stay in the Middle East, and today's headlines are going to be tomorrow's consequences, really for every American home. This is a really hot topic, and you guys know I love to address this stuff here at the intersection of faith and culture. And joining me today is Rick Green, former Texas State Representative, a constitutional coach, and the founder of Patriot Academy, also a really good friend of mine. He's a man who knows how to connect the dots between the Bible, the Constitution, and bring cultural clarity. And we're going to do that today. This is going to be a great episode. Stick around. I think you're going to be encouraged. Shout out to our sponsor, the Functional Medical Institute. I love those guys. Check them out at homeschoolhealth.com and be sure and use the coupon code Heidi for 20% off your entire purchase. Well, thank you guys again for joining me, and I jump right in because we have so many things to talk about, including whether or not America should be standing with Israel. Rick Green, my word, welcome back to the show.
Heidi, I know we got all kinds of serious topics to talk about, but first of all, just personally, Kara and I want to say we love you and Jay so much, and we miss you, and we want to get some time with you, so it's good to see you at least on screen. So thanks for all you're doing.
So good to see you guys. We can't wait to get down there and hang out with you guys and shoot some guns. And oh my word, I can't wait. I cannot wait. All right, let's jump into this because there's so many things going on. I feel like there's a lot of confusion. You and I were just talking about just a minute ago. President Trump seems to be a lot of people are saying he's dividing his base over this issue with Israel. Lots of people, I would put Tucker Carlson into this category. And I think most of us, nobody wants war. I think unless you're part of the industrial war complex, nobody wants war. But I thought it was interesting that President Trump called Tucker Carlson kooky online, a couple of days ago. That's kind of a bummer. So as tensions escalate between Israel and Iran, lots of Americans unsure as to what our role should be in the United States. How do you interpret this moment in history, both from a constitutional and a biblical perspective?
Yeah, you put your finger on it. It's if you step back, we've lost our appetite for war. We don't want to be in these foreign entanglements. We're starting to heed George Washington's warning about that sort of thing, and I think it's made it difficult for us to look a little deeper into each of these issues. I was on with my friend Matthew Faraci last night or a couple nights ago, and he said all wars are not the same, and he was going through the explanation. I thought, man, that's exactly how we need to be addressing this, because for me, this one really kind of got crystallized 2 years ago, maybe, when there was a big
October
funding
7th.
bill. Well, yeah, it was when there was a mixed funding bill for Ukraine and Israel.
Yes,
and it
we
was
gave
like
so
take it or
much
leave
money.
it. And so for those of us that were sick of the Ukraine thing, never saw where our national interests were in that, never felt like we should have been given at least the level that we were giving, when it all got lumped together, I think a lot of people on the right just got fed up with any foreign funding. And so I think that's where we are right now, and we need this clarification. We need to be able to say all wars are not the same, all situations are not the same, all allies are not the same. And you nailed it when you said what's the constitutional and biblical perspective, because we know biblically we're to stand with Israel. We're to support Israel, and those who bless Israel will be blessed. And if we go against Israel, we're going to be cursed, and that's just a biblical truth. And so there's just the biblical command to stand with them. Then there's just the geopolitical issues, and just even if we weren't biblically commanded, they're our only friend in the Middle East in terms of government structure, in terms of economic structures, all of those things. So there's a lot of reasons that we should stand with Israel, even more so than any other nation, certainly in the Middle East and maybe even in the entire world. And then there's just this specific situation and how dicey it is with Iran and everything else. So it is a very it's one of those issues where the sound bites don't work, where it's just not that simple. And unfortunately, the sound bites, the easy sound bites, are what's got so many of our friends, I think, on the wrong side of this issue. And I think there's a knee-jerk reaction to just saying, we're broke, we don't have the money, we're $37 trillion in debt. If we go down this route, we're going to end up spending trillions of dollars to fight this war. It's going to be, the entire Middle East against us and Israel. Whatever that rabbit hole is that causes us to just say we just don't want to be involved. And I just think we can't be that intellectually lazy. I think we have to look a lot closer and a lot deeper at it. And then last thing I'll say on it when you dive into any part of that is we also have to trust the guy in the room. We have to get to a point where when these hard situations happen, we put some trust and give a little leniency to the people that we've hired to handle the situation. Obviously, I'm talking about Trump in this situation, and trust his instincts to see when to push and when to pull and how far to go on this thing, instead of just throwing him under the bus and just saying, I'm done with this and I'm not, which is what some of these people are doing. And some of these people they've been great friends to us and
huge,
major help
huge
in the movement.
Names. Huge names. I mean, I saw the Hodge twins taken out after him. It does have the potential, which really smacks of spiritual warfare, right?
Yes.
To split the MAGA movement right in half I think you absolutely nailed it. Ukraine has really burned out a lot of people, right? Because we're just like, why are you giving, billions of dollars to that weirdo over there? And nobody really understands the pieces. Exactly. But I was thinking about it this morning. And again, I think you're totally right. We are going to have to trust President Trump and Pete Hegseth and the people who are actually in the Situation Room. The rest of us are just armchair generals, right? We're just looking at this thing, from our kitchens with our cup of coffee. We're not flying to the G7 summit. We don't really know what's going on. I do have a kind of interesting question though for you. What do you think Iran's end game is, besides, annihilating Israel and blowing them off the face of the earth? Why should everyday Americans care about what's happening in Iran?
Let me come back to that one after saying one more thing about the trust thing, because that's the other big picture here thing. We lost our faith in our institutions, right? And
100%,
I think rightfully
and they earned it. Yeah,
they earned it. They earned it. They lied to us.
Put your
over and over
mask
again.
on, Rick.
That's right. Weirdo. And then we started discovering things that made us be willing to question, right? We were like, this just does not add up at all. And then people like us that have been patriotic our whole life, we started saying, well, wait a minute, what about what the CIA is doing over here or the FBI is doing? And the more we dug, we go, oh my goodness, this thing is rotten to the core. And so I think it's justified. You said they earned it. It's justified that we would not trust the institutions or trust the guy in the room. So it's going to take some faith to be able to say this is a different guy in the room than what we've had certainly for the last 4 years, and really maybe even the last 50 years. That is just a very different president with very different goals and allegiances and all those things. So that's a big one.
His instincts have been pretty good. I mean,
oh my goodness,
you got to hand it to the guy.
2017 when he came in, he stopped funding the Palestinian Authority. He said, "Why aren't we giving $140 million so they can turn around and kill Jews?" I mean, this is not smart. Even then, and now his instincts are way better than they were. Whatever that was, almost 10 years ago.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, I agree.
So I don't know the answer on Iran. I tell you, this one, it doesn't make sense to me even from the beginning. The harassment, the funding of all these terrorist organizations. They have so much money because of first Obama and then Biden loosening the sanctions
Obama
and giving them money.
Billions of dollars to Iran. Boy, that was a mistake. And they've turned around and they've been enriching uranium with the money.
And funding terrorist organizations.
And funding terrorist organizations, the Houthis, all these organizations around the Middle East now poised to annihilate our friend and our ally, really the only real ally we've got in the Middle East. It's kind of amazing.
And they're just an absolutely evil regime. I mean, the things they do to their own people, the atrocities are over the top. It was really weird, Heidi. One of the weirdest texts I got over the weekend as this was all happening is a good friend of mine that's a Syrian Christian from Iran. His whole family escaped here, and so he gets it. He understands the tyranny. And as a Christian, he was obviously dealing with all kinds of stuff. Anyway, I was really surprised. He texted me and he was like, "What? How much do you think the U.S. will get involved?" And I was starting to go through all that. And he goes, Rick, I don't want us to. I'm worried Trump is going to get distracted from the domestic, agenda that we really need here in America. And so his whole argument was, man, we need to be America first. And coming from him, who I know loves the Iranian people and the people that have been abused for all of these years, this regime has been absolutely awful. But he said to me, Rick, I'm telling you, man, regime change, any kind of regime change has just made it worse over there. It just doesn't get. It was almost like he didn't even know if they could finally embrace good principles and a good society. So I say all that just to say, thinking about the whole picture, this is a terrible, terrible regime, greatly mistreating its own people. I don't know if you decapitate the top, if you get rid of the Ayatollah.
Well, they're saying if you get rid of the Ayatollahs, I think it was not the Daily Caller, it might have been Daily Wire this morning. Ben Shapiro is saying, listen, if you could get rid of the Ayatollahs, this thing would be over. And I heard a rumor and I actually texted a friend of mine in D.C. and said, is this true? Because I saw some of these guys are jumping out ahead of the news, right? Because everybody wants to be the first. We don't want to be, We don't necessarily need to be right, but we sure want to be first. And I saw a friend of mine who's a pretty well-known social media guy say, oh, hey, we've assassinated, the Ayatollah, whatever, they're the head guy. And so I texted to my friend in D.C. and I'm like, did this actually happen? He said, we don't know.
I saw that this weekend. It was like there were a bunch of X feeds, saying that it had happened, and apparently it hasn't. Of course, it was funny. That was another thing Matthew Faraci said. He said the running joke right now in all of his circles in Israel is that the only people who know where the Ayatollah is are the Israelis. Because their intelligence has been. It really is. If you step back just from a war gaming perspective, it's been unreal. The intelligence that they've had, how they've managed to do what they've done and take out the targets
It's because they put an air tag on him, man, and he doesn't know it.
This is probably, by the way, totally off the subject. We'll come in. I give you a hat tip in my new book because I stole your line, and I say hat tip to my friend Heidi St. John for this golden nugget because I used your line about, because you're so good at this, you have so many of them, but it's the one about studying lesbian dance theory. I have borrowed that so many times. I was feeling guilty when I was doing the book. I got to give credit to Heidi.
You come out of the Washington State University with you're blue-haired with a degree in lesbian dance theory, and then you can't get a job and you don't know why.
There you go. So good. Anyway, I don't even know what the one was you just said, but it was good.
Well, I'm wondering. I'm looking at this stuff, dude, and I just think we're at an inflection point. I think we're at an inflection point. We're certainly at an inflection point politically in the country, but America does have a constitutional obligation. We're here. Our primary goal, right, according to the Constitution, is to protect and defend our own borders. It looks to me like, for the last, for sure, 5 years, what do we have, how many millions of illegals come across our southern borders? And
I think it's been 20, and I think there's 2 million gotaways total. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, pretty amazing. But from a constitutional perspective, because this is really your jam, looking at what our role is in foreign conflict, what should the role of Congress be when it comes to determining the United States' involvement in international conflicts like this one?
Yeah, I'm probably lean more now. I didn't used to when he was running for president, but all these years later, I probably lean more towards a Ron Paul kind of foreign policy than I do certainly a George Bush policy like I used to be.
Do you think that's because of Ukraine?
Yes. Yeah. No, I think it's Ukraine. I think it's USAID. I think it's all of the corruption that's been uncovered. And just knowing that when you throw hundreds of billions of dollars out there, you're going to get corruption. There's going to be people that grift. There's going to be people that do evil things with it. It's just going to happen. So I might come back to the philosophy of only do what only government can do. That they shouldn't do anything else, and only what we've empowered them to do. And so I am okay with some foreign aid. I think there has to be some level of presence around the world because, first of all, because we are the superpower, but also just economically and protecting our interest with people we trade with and all. So you got to have some of it. But we've gone so over the top and allowed Congress to just run, unchecked with this money and all of these favors and all of these deals that end up benefiting their family members. It's just so bad right now.
So crazy.
And part of that's just culturally. You and I talk about that all the time. We've had a valueless culture for 50 years, and we've had moral relativism. So we've put people in office that end justifies the means, do whatever it takes to get what I want at the end of the day. So part of that's just the lack of God in our culture. But the other part is just jurisdictionally, we've given them too much power. But I don't think we can take the easy way out and say we should never help any of our neighbors until we get out of debt. I think there are times we've got to, militarily even, because we do have the most power in this kind of situation, I think we have to help. I hope, and look, I think Israel can do this without us. I don't even think they need us other than financially. What we have to do is not do Joe Biden. And what Joe Biden and Anthony Blinken did for the last 4 years before Trump came in is they talked like they were supporting Israel, and they were undermining them behind the scenes all the time.
100%, 100%, exactly
it was so
right.
bad. Yeah, and that prevented them from, and then Netanyahu's got to do the dance and try to be nice to Biden so that it doesn't get worse. But yet they're fighting two enemies. Really, they're fighting 50 enemies at the same time. But
100%,
anyway,
yeah.
I am really confident Trump won't do that. I mean, whether he sends in whatever, I know he's not going to undercut Netanyahu and prevent those things from happening or stop. I had one friend that's a arms manufacturer, tell me he had an approved arms deal with Israel and this massive shipment and could not ship it, even though it had been approved, all of this, and Israel needed these particular arms. And the Blinken and the Biden administration just, putting up roadblocks constantly to prevent the help from even getting there. That, I believe, is over, even though I'm sure there's bureaucrats down level at the State Department that still think like that.
Sure.
So that's the good news, is that Israel can do this on their own, with our financial help, and there's probably some obviously some arms, those F-35s and things that they're doing. But at the same time, I will just say my personal position is I would not oppose intervention and helping Israel. It's just the exception to the rule. It is the biblically right thing to do. Internationally, economically, all of those things. There's just too many things they do that benefit us, that I think we do have to stand with them where needed. And frankly, they're not asking for that much at this point. We'll see if it gets worse. But man, they're kicking butt right now. They don't really need us. They're nailing every target. Only 10% of the missiles are getting through to Israel. So there'll be some damage there. But this is the other thing. Have you noticed how good the propaganda machine is for the left? And my feed over the weekend, you would have thought it was an absolute fact that multiple F-35s have been shot down, that they had a female pilot captured. I mean, all of these, I'm going, how do these people end up in my feed? And then it turned out none of it was true. I mean, I was getting depressed, not really depressed, but I was like, dang, man, Israel's getting their butt whipped. And it was all because of this feed. And then you find out it was all lies. It was all propaganda. So anyway, that's a whole nother topic, but the propaganda machine from the left is good.
It is good, and I'm kind of wondering I'm starting to wonder if Candace Owens isn't working for the left. I don't understand.
Goodness, that's one of the worst.
What in the I do not understand. Yeah. I'm watching her, and I'm like, what kind of Kool-Aid are you drinking? Because she went from being so solid in conservatism to then, going into all she wants to talk about is, Hollywood and P. Diddy and all this stupidity. And then she starts talking about Israel. And then, I had a really good friend of mine who shall go unnamed. You know who he is. Call her out as an anti-Semite. And I was like, whoa, boy, things are heating up. It's weird right now, but it's also biblical, because the Bible teaches us that the world is going to turn against Israel, and people who shouldn't be turning against Israel seem to be. And I do think it's a lot of what you just said. I think we just don't have the stomach for it. People are just like, can we just stop already? You guys know how passionate I am to see parents discipling their children in the Bible. And while it doesn't have to be complicated, it does have to be intentional. That's why I'm excited to introduce you guys to the Illuminate Bible series from my friends at Lifestone Ministries. This is a Bible curriculum that's designed to grow with your child from first grade all the way through high school. So whether your child is just starting to read or asking deeper questions about faith and culture, Illuminate meets them right where they are and helps them build a lasting relationship with Jesus. Each week, you'll walk through a simple 5-step approach. You'll look at a Bible story, check out the context around it, see how it connects to the rest of Scripture, study the theology behind it, and find out what it means for real life. It's designed for families, so you don't need 5 different books for 5 different kids. You can go through it together using workbooks, tailored to the ages of your kids. So if you've been looking for a way to disciple your kids without adding more stress to your day, this is it. For more information, visit lifestoneministries.com/Heidi to learn more about this amazing homeschooling tool. You know, I actually saw, I think you'd love this. I said to Jay, I said, oh, Rick would love this. I don't know who it was. I got to think about who it was. Somebody on X yesterday said that they think what we should do, since it seems like the culture is really sick of war, but what we really do like to see is somebody get owned on social media. So let's just have Netanyahu and the Ayatollahs just go at it on X. And then whoever wins, we just give them all the things.
You're right, because that's civil discourse. We love civil discourse. It prevents,
Yeah.
And you know what's, this is funny and so poignant and so historically accurate though, because that's a perfect example of how you'd figure out who the bad guys are and who the good guys are. It's the same thing Golda Meir said, 60 years ago, 70 years ago. You know, if we lay down if the Palestinians lay down their arms, there'll be instant peace in the Middle East. If we lay down our arms, they will destroy us immediately and wipe us off the face of the earth. In the same way here, like Netanyahu would go, yes, I'm in. Let's do it. The Ayatollah would be like, send the bombs. However you say that in whatever they speak. I mean, it's like it would never happen because of the two sides. One thing on Candace Owens, I mean, like, she was such a sharpened instrument for our side. Like, she was a weapon for our side. She was so good, and I think the enemy knows that, right? And these seeds that get planted, these lies of the enemies. And I had never run it. I don't know about you. I had never even had a conversation with someone that had gone down those rabbit holes and bought into all these lies. And a friend of mine that shocked me. I mean, I'm not going to obviously name his name or out him, but we go to lunch and he starts spouting all this stuff. And I genuinely said, listen, I want to hear you out. I want to know why you're starting to think this kind of stuff, and let's have civil discourse. And I couldn't believe the things that, I mean, literally believing, for instance, one of the lies that the propaganda machine has managed to get a lot of Americans to believe. The Israelis are purposefully getting women and children to come to certain places and lure them in and then drop bombs and kill them on purpose. And I'm like, you really believe that? Like, show me. No, I've seen the videos. I'll send you the videos. Like, I mean, Heidi, that is a level of deception that is just, I can't even comprehend it.
That's right up there with the flat earth theory. Right. Yeah. And honestly, you know, every time I mention flat earth on my podcast, there's always people that are, I'm going to send you a book. Listen, I actually I know an astronaut. OK, I'm sorry, but my friendship with Jeff Williams, who is logged, you know, holds like the second, you know, he holds the record for the second most hours spent in space. I'm taking his word.
Well, you know, Heidi, he's probably just an alien, and he's taken on human form, and he's convinced you of this. Have you pushed on his face? Have you tried to pull his cheek off?
He is going to be coming back here pretty soon. I'm going to do that next time. I'm just going to lean over and just start poking at him. I'm just going to start poking at him because I can't even drink my coffee. Oh, yeah. I can't even with this. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm going to take and this is a guy who loves the Lord, who reads his word. He's on the elder board of his church, and you're calling that guy a liar. Well, no, we just think he's working for NASA, and NASA's from Satan. Yes, but this guy was in a rocket ship and he went up into space and he saw the earth and it's not flat.
I'm the same way with the whole 9/11 thing. One of my good friends, a state senator here in Texas, Brian Birdwell, who's the closest survivor to the point of impact at the Pentagon. Whole body covered in jet fuel, burned. I mean, he shouldn't have survived. All of his skin gone. I mean, it was crazy. But he great friend. He comes to Patriot Academy all the times and speaks. And that happened one time. He was doing a Q&A with the students, and a student said, well, what do you say about those people that say that it was a missile and the Pentagon that wasn't really a plane that hit it? And his face, of course, he was trying to control his anger, but he's like, I would first say, put the crack pipe down and step away from the media. That was his line. And he said, I know what jet fuel smells like, and I know what burned my body. And it's just when you have people that actually lived it probably does help people like you and me to not be lured into some of these things that when you lose faith in the institutions and you realize what the technology is capable of, and it creates this doubt in everything. And Heidi, what's scary is I don't know how that gets better and not worse because of the technology, right? I mean, we're going to have videos. They could make a video of you and me going in and shooting up a school. Right.
It's so true.
And it looks so real, or whatever. I mean, it's going to be, they're going to have, I mean, this is, I actually was talking to a guy you would probably know that's really good on the back end stuff and the secret stuff and all that. He's like, dude, you have to have cybersecurity to prevent them from planting child porn on your computers and everything. When you have an audience and you're having an impact, if they want to take you out, they will find. And I'm like, how do you even?
It's crazy.
It's going to be a crazy world, man. We're going to have to pray for God to constantly dispel the deception and constantly give people the ability to see through a lot of this stuff.
Well, man, you just nailed it, because it really is deception. I have never seen anything like this, right? Yeah. So we're living in a time of amazing deception, and and the technology gets more amazing and more amazing. I don't know if you're watching now, but there's several accounts on social media. One of them is like, if George Washington had an iPhone. Have you seen this? Oh, for goodness sake.
No,
okay,
but I love the idea. That sounds great.
It's it's 100% AI. And here's, he's just walking through Valley Forge and he's like, guys, check this out, and he's got his iPhone up in front of him. It's so funny. And there's like, if Jesus had an iPhone, there's all these accounts like these guys had an iPhone. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, God's people, we got to do a better job at discernment. And this is where, my frustration with all these Christians that are going down these rabbit holes and, people that believe that the earth is flat. It's like, you really, and your friend who got angry at this young man for saying, what do you think was a missile instead of a jet that crashed into the Pentagon? This guy's angry. Jeff Williams feels the same way. So I asked him the same question. I said, what do you say to these people who are like, it was all just staged and we weren't really on the moon and it's not really a flag and all this stuff. And he was just like, I just say these people are fools, and I don't even answer them anymore. Yeah. Because there's no point. I was actually there. And so you're calling me a liar. I'm the one who was in the rocket that went there, not you. And I'm the one who lived on the International Space Station, not you. And
these guys figured out that proverb about answer a fool according to his folly, and don't answer a fool according. It's like, I'm always like, okay, Lord, which one is it? Is this the fool I answer, or is this a fool? So it sounds like he's figured it out. Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, I'm over it. I don't even talk to these people anymore, because you can't reason with them. Although, I'm not where he is yet, because I still try, and I don't know why I'm trying, but just like oh my goodness, it's crazy. Do you think that the founding fathers envisioned entanglements like the ones that were, did they give us any provision or principles for situations that would have to do with war and peace in foreign nations?
Well, yes, and even this whole propaganda thing. I'm going to go back even further than the founding fathers. Nehemiah. Sam Ballot and those guys did exactly the same thing. Same thing, right? It's
trying
like nothing new under the sun.
Off the wall.
And I loved how he just calls them out. He's like, he literally says, "You're making this up in your head." I'm like, okay, let's borrow that line from Nehemiah. That fits today with so many of these people.
So yes, he smote some of them and pulled out their hair. Yeah.
Oh, I think that was later. That was that the same guys? Oh,
that
okay.
That kind of gets to him after a while, and he's like, he smoked some of them and pulled out their hair.
I love it. Like, all these people that say be nice all the time. I'm like, no, Nehemiah. Yeah.
No,
Jesus, fashioning the whip himself. Anyway, I was just with Victor Marks for the whole weekend, so I'm like really feeling the need to fight and do something. What was the other one you asked about? Foreign entanglements in the I think they weren't. They were more protectionist probably than most of our people today. But it wasn't. I think if you recognize how France helped us at the very end of the revolution, they knew there's times when you do have to help your friends. We wouldn't have ended up ultimately winning at Yorktown and the other things that happened if we hadn't finally gotten some help. So I don't think they were totally against it. And I think when you look at Washington's words in his farewell address, he did. It was the same with the partisan thing. People think that he said, don't do partisan at all. No, he understood you're going to have parties because you have to have factions and you have to have debate, and you don't want a uniparty. But he said, don't become so partisan that you can't have a conversation with the people on the other side. You know, don't become so sold out to the party that it overcomes your principles. That's essentially paraphrasing, but what he said. I think it's the same thing here with the foreign entanglements. It's like, don't become so involved with what's going on out there that you sell out your principles because this ally is doing a certain thing, or you get to the point where you can't take care of your own. And Heidi, you mentioned the one that has us all going, we got to fix the border problem and the deportation problem and all that before it's hard for us to help people around the world when we're having wars in our own cities and at our own border. And let's face it, man, Trump is doing a phenomenal job at that. And doing exactly, I don't know if you're planning to ask me this while we're together, but the whole idea of being able to send in the military to L.A. and some of these other places, 100% constitutional.
Let's go.
Yeah, it's happened 20 times. A dozen presidents have done it. George Washington was the first one to do it under the first Insurrection Act, 1792, and he goes into 1794 and puts down the Whiskey Rebellion himself and brings in the troops to stop that from happening. I mean, this is absolutely an essential duty of the federal government. Article 4, Section 4 says we're guaranteed to be a republic. So that guarantee clause, the federal government's expected to help make sure every state is still a republic and that the laws are faithfully enforced. And then Article 1, Section 8 gives Congress the power to call for, we call it the calling forth clause, to call forth the militia, or in our case, the National Guard, and have them enforce the laws. Not only put down insurrections or invasions, but enforce the laws. And so you say, well, that's Congress, not the president. Well, but Congress delegates that to the president because the president's the one that actually executes the law. We wouldn't want any member of Congress to be able to run over to the Pentagon and say, hey, Pete, I want you to send troops over to my district. No, that wouldn't work, right? You don't want the Congress to be the one that actually does. They delegate that, and that's what the Insurrection Acts have done. So that's a 30-second, or maybe it was a little longer than that, just summary of the fact Donald Trump absolutely has the constitutional authority to do what he's doing. We could dive further into that if you want, but anybody that's been wondering about that, please, Trump, do it. And here's the good news.
I thought he was a king, Rick.
No, well,
I mean, didn't we?
He's the worst king in history.
Didn't we just have no King's Day? I'm pretty sure we did.
He's a terrible tyrant. You know, he needs to learn how to be a tyrant better because he's allowing all this free speech. He's encouraging people to peacefully protest. He's, like pardoning people instead of locking them up. I mean, somebody needs to take him to tyrant school because he's not a very good.
Did you see what he said? He said a huge thank you to all the No Kings protesters yesterday. I was very concerned. A king was trying to take my place, but thanks to your tireless efforts, I am still your president. I want to take a moment to say thank you to our sponsor today. Today's show is being sponsored in part by my friends at Give, Send, Go. And it's a pretty amazing partnership because months ago, before I received my medical diagnosis, we had been hoping to partner with this amazing company. And I had no idea that I was going to be on the receiving end of a Give, Send, Go campaign. But I can tell you it's been an incredible blessing for me. And I love what these guys are doing. They are really crowdfunding with a gospel message and sharing the light of Christ and helping us fulfill the mandate in Galatians 6:2, where we are really commanded to bear one another's burdens and in so doing fulfill the law of Christ. One of the things that's awesome about Give, Send, Go is that they have a prayer team that you can join and pray for the campaigns that you see online. So even if you can't give right now, you can pray. There is power in your prayers, and I love what the Lord is doing through the platform at Give, Send, Go. Check them out at givesendgo.com.
He's the ultimate troll. I'm telling you, this guy is, whether it's him or somebody around him, he's the best at it. And you and I haven't had a chance to talk about this. Heidi, his team is incredible. The stuff that they've done, the level of constitutional research they've done, and historical precedent, and pulling out the 1798 alien enemies.
Which is why they keep winning in court because they knew their stuff going into it. I mean, so even Amy Coney Barrett, who's turning out to be a pretty big fat disappointment on the Supreme Court.
Agreed.
I mean, they did their homework. Hey, really quickly, I looked this up. So we were right. It was Nehemiah who said that he got mad, right? Because the Jews had married women from different
that's what
cultures.
I thought it was about, yes.
Yeah, so Nehemiah's mad because he was like, listen, I just did all this work to rebuild the walls around Jerusalem, and you guys are going to basically make this whole thing go septic because you're intermarrying again. So the children of the Jews couldn't speak Hebrew, and Nehemiah was hacked about it. So he rebuked them, cursed them, beat them, and pulled out their hair, and then forced them to take an oath against intermarriage. That's how that went down.
So what you're saying is it was actually the Department of Education that he went after and ripped their hair out, not the guys that were initially trying to prevent the building of the walls. I like that even better. Let's go.
Let's go. It turns out God is a fan of walls, and it turns out God is a fan. God's a protectionist. Like, he's a fan of borders and a fan of walls, and we should be too. I said on my social media the other day that I had been marked safe from looking like an idiot at a No Kings protest, right? The day that they did that. And this lady, and she means really well, like these Christians that mean really well, she's like, Heidi, God says in his word, do not call people idiots. And I was like, if the shoe fits, wear it.
Wait, has she read Jesus's words? I mean, he practically called the Pharisees idiots and other things.
Brood of vipers, comes to mind.
Snakes and filthy. Anyway, So I think you said something a while ago that fits with this, and that is we got to be more discerning. I mean, Christians got to be more willing to dig in. And study these things and not do the knee-jerk thing.
You can't sacrifice truth on the altar of a misguided mercy. And I think so often, Christians come in and we're really heavy on the mercy and the grace side, and then we just abandon truth and we abandon objective reality and we abandon what we know to be and justice and what we know to be true about the culture. I think that's really true happening right now. I mean, I want to go back to what you talked about a few minutes ago about how the United States is really called to stand with Israel, because a lot of conservative Christians, we have historically held this view because it's biblical, right? That we have a moral obligation to support Israel. But there is growing, and it is crazy, anti-Israel sentiment in the country, on college campuses, even in Congress. I want to know what you think this says about the state of our nation, and how are we going to go forward with such a growing divide?
It fits with some of the things we've covered in previous years when we've talked about these things, and that is the cultural Marxism and the lies that have been poured into the education system. So I really do want to pull the hair out of some of these Department of Education people, because what they've done is they've taken the best of the best, the leaders. We've sent our own kids, meaning the Christian community, sent our own kids and our money
to these
universities that have just poured this poison into them, and it's so anti-Semitic and it's so anti-Israel for years and years and years. And they were taking the leaders a lot of times over there and giving them this really protected tour type situation in order to give them the worst view of Israel and the best view of Palestine and all this stuff. They've been really working at this for decades and decades and decades. So when this stuff poured out over the last couple of years at the universities, it wasn't like it was just this brand new fad that they got onto. I mean, they had been working hard to get to this point. The professors, it's just been an absolute well-established plan or well-executed plan on their part while we've been asleep at the wheel. Now, there's been some like John Hagee and a few places like that started Christians United for Israel and these types of things where they were they were countering that and taking some of our leaders over and giving them the full view, including taking them both to Palestine and Israel. But Heidi, it's almost ingrained at this point in a lot of the generation. And so it is going to be a praying for the deception to be removed, allowing truth to come in. And I've always thought this was one of those that was easy to see who the good guys and the bad guys are. I mean, if you're purposely raping, murdering, and killing, innocent people, you're the bad guys. And if you're doing everything you can to do surgical strikes and to not kill innocents and to drop leaflets and tell them where you're going to bomb, that's usually the good guys. This shouldn't be that hard for people to see. And maybe that's what it's going to take, is more people like us talking about it, being willing to really take on those from our side that are now falling into a lot of this stuff. But this is an intellectual fight. You said it right. It's a spiritual warfare. Yep. And that's the reason so many of these people are blinded. But our job is to advance truth and just keep bringing it and hope that God literally picks the right people to lead not only our nation but obviously Israel. I don't know how long Netanyahu is going to be able to hold on to power. I mean, we need God to do what He does in raising up leaders both for us and for them.
Well, and I think it's important to point out that it's exhausting, right? I mean, we prayed our guts out for the election here in the United States just this last November, and I think people are tired, and we can't give up. We've got to stay on the battlefield.
No, this is a press the gas moment. This window right now. We'll never see this again. This is the best opportunity we have to rebuild liberty, because it's not, it's the 250th coming up next year, July 4th, 2026, and everybody's talking about it. And so we're actually working with the White House to pick dates to emphasize faith elements in the founding of the country as we do the 250th. So we had the Army thing last weekend. We got, Battle of Bunker Hill
that the radical left would choose the Army thing, the 250th of the Army,
to try to act like
to try to steal the spotlight and do their No King's Day. These are enemies of the United States.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, enemies of freedom. The true fascists, the ones who say that they're Antifa, the anti-fascists, are actually the fascists. If the U.S. becomes directly involved, let's say that's. I mean, I feel like that's a worst case scenario, but it may end up that it's necessary. If the U.S. becomes directly involved in the conflict in the Middle East, what should we be praying for? How can we? I want to just get your opinion on this. How can we be preparing for this kind of thing practically? What should we be praying for? And then in the next few minutes, I want to talk about your new book.
Well, I would say, first of all, pray that Israel is able to continue to surgically execute this successfully, and it be like the 6-day war, and it not require our help. Obviously, that would be the best case scenario, and right now that's happening. I mean, they're already even saying it feels like that, and so let's pray that happens, and we don't have to put any troops in harm's way, and it's only technology and money that we end up having to support them with. And then if it does go the other direction and becomes a long drawn out thing, and we end up having to go in and help, man, I think we pray. The first thing I'm going to pray for is our leaders, and pray that Trump and Hegseth and the team that they surround themselves with are able to make calculated decisions to keep this from spinning out of control and not turning into another 20-year Iraq type situation.
Yeah.
That's what I would be praying for.
Yeah,
and by the way, let me add the third thing, that it's transformational. That this does become so successful that Israel becomes the superpower of the Middle East, and that there is literally a dawn of freedom and capitalism that takes hold in the Middle East. And there's a chance for that. There's some Arab countries that I think are ripe for siding with Israel, believe it or not. And I mean, there's just some wild things that I never thought would happen that are happening. So that would be the third thing, that I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that this really is an incredible age that's about to begin. As much as we have all these problems and horrible things that we're fighting, like I said, we're on the cusp of what could be a third great awakening here in America, and I think potentially a real renaissance in the Middle East.
Yep. And it's going to require, honestly, it's going to require voices like yours to continue just to be out there at the front of this thing, talking to people and reminding us of what's going on and what's at stake, because this is more than a geopolitical standoff. It's a moral and spiritual mirror. And we're having an opportunity right now as a nation to really look at who we are and who we want to be and what do we want for our grandkids and the generations to come.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah, it's true. Let's talk about you for a second, Rick. Let's talk about you, okay?
Enough about me, Heidi. Enough about me. What do you think about me? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh, my goodness. See, this is why we can't have nice things.
I was doing my best Sean Cassidy,
Dude,
David Cassidy.
You just aged yourself out. Half my audience doesn't even know who Sean Cassidy is. Never mind that I had a giant poster of him in my bedroom. Whatever.
That's funny.
Whatever. All right, tell me about your new book. You got a new book. Hold it up. I want to see.
Well, and in fact, so it's called A Blueprint for Rebuilding Liberty Just in Time for America's 250th. I know it's too long of a title, but the whole idea is to basically lay out a plan for the next year, not wait until July 4th, 2026, and just make sure we're not having fireworks that fizzle and a great celebration and hot dogs and then moving on, but that we actually spend the whole year making sure that on July 4th, when people are waving the flag, that they know why the flag is worthy of being waved. It's sort of a complete renaissance of the intellectual side of liberty, so that we can build strong for the next generation. Because we do have rot in the culture. We do have cracks in the foundation.
No question.
And one president for 4 years and executive orders it's all temporary. So we have the chance to rebuild strong, just like Nehemiah did, for a long time to come. And I think the Israel thing does not take away from that. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. I know there's a risk of that and getting entangled in that. I think the bigger risk is what you mentioned at the top of the program, and that is that it splits our movement to the point that we can't work together on these really positive things in rebuilding liberty for the country. So let's pray for that there's not the Elon Musk, Donald Trump divorce type situation happening in bigger ways.
I think Elon's got emotional problems. I really do. If you look at him, actually, I'm a super fan of Elon and what he did with Doge, and I think he saved free speech in this country when he bought Twitter. So yes. I mean, I say we owe a debt of gratitude to that guy. But if you look at his personal life, he has a string of just littered behind him of relationships that didn't work out, baby mamas, and relationships with powerful people, not the least of which obviously is Donald Trump. I think those two are going to figure it out, though.
I do too, because I think we have to remember. Yeah, I think we have to remember that for Elon, this was a new arena, and he's so used to just plowing through and figuring it out and getting it done. And you just look at the incredible things he's done in business, and politics is very different, and it takes time, and you have to take baby steps, and it's incremental, and that's tough for a guy like that to stomach, especially doing giving up billions and billions of dollars, right? All the things that he did to try to do this. People destroying
Teslas across the country.
Yeah. So I get his perspective.
He went from being a superhero to everybody wants to burn their car. Stupid.
Yeah. what I'm praying for with him is the biggest thing is not start a third party. Like he's been throwing that out there, and I'm praying that doesn't happen because that would absolutely it would give it to it'd be Bill Clinton all over again, Ross Perot, all that.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think he's probably backing off on that, and he's already apologized for some of the stuff that he said. So I think there can be a reconciliation, and I didn't think that at first. You would have laughed. I was sitting on stage at a Flashpoint event, and Lance Wallnau and these pastors are all saying, we need to pray that there's forgiveness. And I said, guys, this is the most powerful man in the world, the wealthiest man in the world. This would be like the Fonz saying, did you ever watch Happy Days?
Oh, yeah, and
I'm aging us again.
Fonz can't say he's sorry.
Yeah, Fonz can't say sorry.
Yeah. He can't do it.
But then these guys like almost rebuked me, and they prayed, and then 2 days later, Elon Musk apologized. So I was like, okay, guys, I literally texted the whole team that was on that panel. I said, I apologize for my lack of faith. You guys were right. So I'm hoping that what you said is right. They're counseling with someone. Maybe this would be funny. Maybe Bill Maher is counseling them. And Kid Rock and Dana White. We're gonna have a dinner with you guys, and we're gonna throw back some beers, and we're gonna get you guys to be buddies again. Anyway, it's wild.
I know that would be two people having a beer that I would. Well, Trump won't. He doesn't drink, but I think wow, this is a time we really need to be praying. Rick, what's the name of your book one more time?
Oh, yeah, Rebuilding Liberty. PatriotAcademy.com is the only place to get it right now, and it's actually just an advanced copy version. And then, Heidi, we've got a new course coming out called Rebuilding Liberty. It's only 4 weeks. It's a Constitution class. It's a lot of new cool stuff, and it's all about what to do between now and July 4th, 2026. Learning the Declaration of Independence principles and rebuilding them for the next generation. And
you are doing amazing things down there at Patriot Academy. I can't wait to hear all the things you're going to come back on the show. Rick Green, you are a national treasure. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Thanks for taking time today. I appreciate it.
Right back at you. God bless you.
All right, you guys, as Rick reminded us, the Constitution was built to guide a moral and self-governing people. Scripture calls us to bless Israel, to stand for truth and pray for peace, but peace without clarity will always be compromised. You guys stay engaged, live free, and love your people well. And I'll see you right back here again at the intersection of faith and culture. Parents of teens, listen up, because I have found an awesome Bible discipleship program that I think you're going to love. If you want your teens to own their faith instead of just regurgitating Bible facts, you need to know about RVLDisciplehip, the curriculum. It's a powerful new curriculum that's been designed for homeschooled teens from our friends at Focus on the Family. Each lesson is taught by awesome Bible teacher Ray Vanderlyn. His semester-long course takes teens beyond fill-in-the-blank lessons to real-life application, helping them live out their faith with boldness and purpose. RVL curriculum is flexible, parent-friendly, and deeply engaging because it's been designed to spark real conversations about faith between you and your teens. Right now, you guys can get 2 free sample lessons at RVLcurriculum/HSJ, plus 10% off when you purchase the curriculum with code Heidi10. You guys, discipleship matters. Let's raise our kids to become lifelong disciples of Jesus. Go to rvlcurriculum.com/HSJ today.